Hi, this is Bishop Craig in Northern Michigan, and this is take one for the week of October 17. Peace be with you. This will be the last time I'll say hello in these take one videos from this location till spring. So in addition to getting the cabin all snuggled in for the winter this week, I will also attend the Traverse Conference meeting, staff meeting, and Region 6 bishops, the deans, and the Conference of Bishops this week, all via Zoom. Then next Sunday, I expect to be in Battle Creek at St. Peter Lutheran Church, and I expect Pastor Anderson to be in Grand Rapids at St. Luke's Lutheran Church. For both congregations, this will be the first Sunday without their pastors, which has me thinking about the end of the calls of pastors and deacons. And these are really significant times for both pastors and deacons and for congregations. For pastors, there's always grief work because we really come to care about our congregations, and we're breaking a trusted relationship and realizing that we're no longer responsible for the care of the people we have come to love and look out for and care about. And leaving a call always means changing, but in my experience, ending very significant relationships. So there is grief always when a pastor or deacon leaves. And so I particularly remember leaving my second call. I ended on one Sunday and started, I think, 2 Sundays later. And that was fine, except I worked at my new call during the day, and then in my dreams at night, I was still working my former call. So there's some grief work because pastors, deacons, bishops, the last responsibility we have to our congregation or to our synod is to make space, to make way, to get out of the way for the pastor or deacon or bishop who comes next. And so that really means, in Lutheran terms, dying to self to rise with Christ. It means realizing that our time as pastor or deacon or bishop is over. So I'm praying for the 2 pastors that are leaving these 2 calls this week. For congregations, it's equally a vulnerable time because whether you are really going to miss your pastor or deacon, or whether you are cheering your pastor or deacon on their way to the next adventure, or whether you are tar and feathering your pastor or deacon as they leave town, you are now without a pastor or deacon, and this can be a vulnerable time as congregations figure out who they are and what needs to come next. So it's a time of honest introspection and sorting out the future. And old conflicts tend to emerge, and they need to be healed and dealt with. And new visions arise, and they need to be embraced and followed. And especially at this time in the church's life, it's not enough to say to potential new pastors, we are a loving church family with a lot of money in the bank that we are content not to spend, because pastors today are really about sharing the love of Jesus with new people. So how can a congregation accomplish that? Or does a congregation want to accomplish that? Whatever congregations come up with, I think it's important that they be honest with who they are, so that when a pastor comes, the pastor knows what's going to happen, so no one is surprised. And I think it's important for pastors and deacons to be honest with who they are, so that congregations aren't surprised. So we as synod staff try to visit, to preach, to preside in congregations the first Sunday after their pastor leaves, so that we can we usually have a forum and talk about the call process, so that we can, one, let everybody know that while the pastor leaves, Jesus remains, and the synod will do their best provide whatever help we can. That's first, and secondly, to help them begin to think about what comes next. So, the reading for this Sunday is one of my favorites. It's the story of Bartimaeus, who is a blind beggar. And I love this story because Jesus says to him, "Your faith has, made you well. Go on your way. Your faith has made you well." And Jesus says this about Bartimaeus' faith before Bartimaeus gets his sight back. Before. So as a blind beggar, Bartimaeus, or a beggar who is blind, Bartimaeus is a model of faith. So rather than look at Bartimaeus as someone who got healed, who needs healing, I like to look at Bartimaeus as a model of faith for all of us. And I can think of three things that make Bartimaeus a model of faith. First, Bartimaeus is on the side of the road, and when he hears that it's Jesus, he calls out. And when people tell him to be quiet, to silence, to shut up, he calls all the louder. So as a model of faith, Bartimaeus shows this, that you don't let anything keep us from calling out to Jesus. Okay? So if it's pride, if it's embarrassment, nope, call out to Jesus. Secondly, when Jesus calls Bartimaeus throws aside his cloak. Now, when you can't see and you throw aside your cloak or anything, chances are you are not going to find it again. I use a good bit of my brain remembering where I put things. And I can tell when I'm stressed because I forget. So Bartimaeus throws aside his cloak. Now, as a beggar, the cloak is all Bartimaeus has. It's what he wears to keep him warm. It's what he probably sleeps under at night. And it's probably where he hides whatever money he gets from begging. So in throwing aside his cloak and not being able to see to get it back, Bartimaeus is throwing away his old life and in faith coming to Jesus. So a few weeks ago, we heard about the man who asked Jesus, "What must I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus says, "You lack one thing. Go sell all that you own and give the money to the poor and come follow me, and you will have treasure in heaven." And the man went away grieving. He was shocked and went away grieving because he had many possessions, couldn't do it. Bartimaeus does it. Bartimaeus throws away, doesn't give to the poor, but throws away, lets go of everything he has in order to come to Jesus. So that's the second thing. So often we want to come to Jesus, but we hedge our bets. We keep things in reserve. Money is a chief one. We want Jesus to help us. We want to come to Jesus, but just in case, we're going to hang on to our cold hard cash in case Jesus doesn't come through. Throw it all away is what the man born blind, Bartimaeus, does. And then the third thing that Bartimaeus does is when Jesus asks him, "What do you want me to do for you?" he says what he wants. He names what he needs. And I think we can all do that too. We can tell Jesus what we absolutely want and need. So I think what makes Bartimaeus a model of faith, these three things: he won't be silenced in calling out to Jesus. He throws away everything in order to come to Jesus, and he states his need to Jesus. What makes Bartimaeus a model of faith is, I think, not that he has it all together, has all the answers, but that he knows his need of God. And he is not ashamed or embarrassed or afraid to bring that need of God to Jesus. And Jesus counts that as faith. So knowing our need of God and being vulnerable with Jesus, perhaps, is what it means to be faithful. And And the reward or the response of Jesus, I guess, yes, Jesus gives Bartimaeus his sight back or restores his sight, but more importantly, Jesus gives Bartimaeus a new life. And isn't that what it's all about? Jesus dies on the cross and rises from the dead to give us new life. And faithful to Jesus, like Bartimaeus, we too will receive new life. So I'm looking forward, and that's true, I think, for congregations in the call process, and I think that is true for pastors ending and beginning calls. Um, so I'm looking forward to being in Battle Creek on Sunday and preaching that good news. I'm Bishop Craig. This is Take One. I hope you get some time out in our beautiful state, as I will this week, before the snow comes. Take care, and peace be with you.